In Unit 1.3, we talk about cycles of matter. The first thing to look at is the algal bloom lab. And basically what happened in the algal bloom lab was that we were able to feed the test tubes with a fertilizer, and the plan was to see algae growing. Now, you'll get an algal bloom whenever there is excess runoff from land. So a lot of nitrogen, a lot of phosphorus will, for example, flow into the river, and the algae just go into a growing frenzy, and you end up with either very green water or a reddish type of water, some of which can be poisonous. So that's an algal bloom. The important thing to note about matter and energy is that energy flows one way through the trophic level. It goes from producers to first level consumers to second level consumers, and so on and so forth. But matter is recycled all the time. And it can be recycled in what we call the biogeochemical cycles. We call them biogeochemical because there is a biological part to these cycles. There's a geophysical part, which tends to be about the rocks in the ground. And there's a chemical part where chemical reactions take place in order to ensure that the nutrient we're looking at gets back into the environment again and continues to cycle through. Carbon, probably one of the most important cycles. Carbon is vital to life. The element carbon has can bond with four other things at once, and therefore carbon tends to be a constituent of many, many, many organic compounds. So carbon is found in carbon dioxide in the air. That's taken in by plants throughout the process of photosynthesis. In that case, then glucose is produced, and then glucose is used in the process of cellular respiration, where it is broken down, oxygen is given back out, carbon dioxide and water is given back out, and we get a molecule of ATP being formed. Nitrogen is in the air, and as we discussed in class, nitrogen has to be fixed. What that means is it has to be transformed into a form that can be used by living things. Bacteria in the soil tend to fix nitrogen. In order for the nitrogen to cycle back into the atmosphere again, it has to be changed back again, and we call this denitrifying. And phosphorus, an element that is very, very important because it makes up our DNA, tends to be found in rocks and minerals in the ground. So carbon dioxide is used in the process of photosynthesis, and the formula for carbon dioxide, CO2 plus H2O plus light, gives you C6H12O6, plus oxygen is given back off again. Photosynthesis takes place in the chloroplast, in plant cells only. And then the sugar molecule is broken down in the mitochondria in the presence of oxygen. That's why we breathe, to give us ATP, CO2 and H2O. If oxygen is not available, cellular respiration cannot take place. But the body is very smart, and it has a fail-safe mechanism called fermentation. So fermentation is the process where glucose can be broken down, and a couple of molecules of ATP can be released. So let's talk, what is this ATP? So ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. You're going to recognize ATP because it's got 3 phosphate molecules. It has a ribose sugar, which looks like a pentagon, and it has adenine, which is an amino acid. So back to the ecosystem again. Unit 1.4 deals with EEI, ecosystem change. This was this whole packet that we did. The very best way to prepare for this is first of all to go down through the vocabulary at the front of the packet and look at those vocabulary words. Know what tolerances, know what a keystone species is. That's also in the textbook in chapter 4. The 3 types of symbiosis we've already covered actually in the last unit. Know what ecological succession is, and realize that ecological succession happens whenever change happens. For example, if there's a forest fire, then the grass will start to regenerate and gradually things will come back to normal again. Know what the competitive exclusion principle is. This is all to do with a niche, and know what the definition for a niche is. In EEI, know about invasive and non-invasive species. Trying to think what else you should know. Stakeholders, conservation easement, these are all important things to know about. Be able to interpret a climatogram. And we talk about climatograms because when we talk about biomes, a biome is really the ecosystem plus the climate. And climate is measured by temperature and precipitation. So if you have to draw a climatogram, remember you're going to plot temperature and then say rainfall, and temperature will be the line graph and the precipitation will be the bar graph. For Unit 1.5, population dynamics, I simply want you to be able to figure out what the population is, and the formula is total number tagged over estimated population equals the number tagged in the recapture over total recaptured. Let's work one out. Say you went out and you tagged 100 elephants and you needed to figure out what the population was. We're going to call that P. So you tag 100 elephants. A month later you go back out and you capture 40 elephants. So that's the total recaptured, and of those maybe 5 have been tagged. Therefore you can work out what P is. 5P is going to equal 4,000. P equals 800.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.